Hello and welcome to my first tutorial on lights and 3D space in After Effects. Mostly lights actually. My first tutorial, so there's gonna be mistakes, okay? So be aware of that, right? So I'm not going to cover about making compositions because you already know that. So let's assume that I've got my composition here, the size I want and everything. So the first thing I do is go layer, new, camera. Okay, I've got one down here, so let's say camera. Now here's the options you have for your camera. The size of field of view for back, forward, so this is further away and this is closer down here. At the moment I know I want 20mm, so I'm going to choose that one, but you may not know what you want, so just go by default and then change it after you've got your pictures in there. Will give you a better idea, but I know that this one is 20mm, so let's go like that. I've got depth of field, by the way, off on the camera, so let's turn that on. Next thing, you want your background, so let's assume I'm going to bring a picture in here, and there's my background, right? I've only used a portion of the picture. I've used a very large picture because the quality is always better and it makes your video look better, so try and get the biggest quality you can. So there's a picture I'm using, right? So now let's assume that your 3D layers aren't available there at the moment, so let's assume you've got this looking like this, and there's your box, but there's nothing to put it in. Oh no, yeah, just go to toggle switches and modes and then it will come up. So that's the layer we're looking at here, so let's click on 3D. We'll make it 3D, so you can tell it's 3D when you get this up. What may happen sometimes when you put objects in and make them 3D, they will disappear and you think, where do they go? They could be behind another layer or over to the right somewhere or out of the camera view. And the best way to look at it is to check your active camera. I start with the top view first and go like that and zoom out, and there I can see that's my layer there. Here's the camera and here's the layer, so therefore we know that we are on the money, but the layer could easily have been over there or something, and you have to move it in to where you want it. So once you've done that, you go back to your active camera. We've got our active camera here, so we've got a layer here that's 3D now. And okay, so let's bring in another picture, which is an Indian pole here. We click on that and there's our Indian pole, and we're going to make that 3D, so click in the 3D space. We clicked on the 3D space and it stayed where it did because I've actually moved it before, but like I say, it could easily have disappeared and you'd have to go down through here to your top view to find it, move it in, scale it. A little tip here, you might want to lock the layers as you go, so it saves you having to move them around, because if you get a lot of layers in there you can accidentally move them around and don't mean to, and it ends up becoming a nightmare. Okay, so let's bring in some video here. Now this video is of a green screened later on in the day there I did, and earlier on in the day, not later on, and oh, a good looking guy there. So yeah, there it is there. Just a tip for your green screen, and that is that if you use key correct as well from Red Giant as well as green screen, it helps out tremendously for the look of the green screen and the keying. Okay, so yeah, that's that. So let's make that 3D as well, and that stayed again because I've moved it before. So let's lock that off. One more thing to come in, and that is the bow, and then we're going to click that there, and there's the bow, right? So we've got the bow and we're going to make that 3D. Now as you can see, everything stayed where it was when I made it 3D, but that doesn't normally happen. Usually it flies off somewhere and you have to bring it back, scale it, set it, or whatever. So just be aware of that. Okay, so let's get on to the lights. First of all, you can say, look, how do I know these are all really 3D? Well, if you get your camera and you change your focal length of your camera or your camera lens to say, let's say 50mm. If you go OK, now you can see, oh, they've all moved in. So yeah, you know that they're all made 3D. So let's go back to 20mm, have it there. Right, now everything doesn't look too bad, except they don't really look like they're matching, and this is too dark against what this is here. So yeah, this is where we need our lighting. So let's go layer, new, light. Okay, so now you've got a choice of 4 lights. You've got parallel light, which is basically the light source, where the light source is coming from, like the sun or an inside light or something like that. That's the parallel light. Spotlight, spotlight is just a little light like that. It can, you know, enhance things. I'll show you them as we go. Point light is basically sort of, I'll show you that as well. And ambient. Well, let's start with ambient light first. Okay, ambient light is basically lights all over. It's basically what it says. You can change the color of the light by anything you want. So let's change it to say that. And click OK, or you can use your color chooser there, and you can choose the color from the scene that might match the ambient light better. Like I say, the ambient light lights up everything of that color. I'll show you what I mean by this. If you can see that what just happened there. Okay, so you can see that we can brighten it right up, and that makes all of it that sort of tinge color. So you can use the ambient light to change the color of the whole scene, right, to whatever you want. Say for instance we want it to be maybe alien. Well, it don't look too alien, but alien, and then we can make it look like that. But we don't want alien, do we really? We want to be where about there maybe. Okay, and turn it down a bit. But that's ambient light. That's the whole area it does. You can use that to say tinge everything slightly blue if it's a blue sky coming in, and then you can use that. So let's go to the next light, which is parallel light. Right, there's no movement on that light, ambient light. It just does the whole screen. Parallel light. Okay, now once we click on parallel light, you'll see that you've got a light here, and you can move it, and that's the point of interest. Okay, so let's keep the light the same color, say for instance, go OK, and then move this pix thing at the front. You can see that. You get hold of it. Be careful, because it's not hard. It's hard to get hold of. Alright, so if we move that around like that, you'll see how the light changes there. Okay, so you can put this basically where you think the sun is coming from. So say the sun is coming from there, and move it like that, then the sun can be coming from there and lighting up like that. And you can adjust the strength, and once again, so basically parallel light is where the sun is coming from, or the light source is coming from. Okay, that's that. Okay, let's go into point light. Point lights are movable, and you'll know it's a point light by you can see this sort of wheel type shape with sticks all coming off of it. Okay, so there's a point light. Now why did the light just go out there? Well, let's check it out. If we go to active camera and go to top view, it went out because now this is our scene, this is our camera here, and now the light is in fact behind the scene. So it can't light anything on the scene if it's behind the scene. So you click on it and move it in front of the scene. And now we go back to active camera, and now you can see that it's actually lighting up the scene now. So if I move it to the left, to the right, you can see that it's changing it. I use these quite a lot in a lot of places. So let's brighten that up a bit. Maybe a bit too bright, but let's brighten it up and move it. Oop, go OK, and move it down. Oop, click on it, move it down or left. So what you could do with these is sometimes is say you can click on it and click Control D, and that will duplicate the light, and then you can move that all the way over to there. So now you can have two lights. You can change the strength of the light on either one of them and make them a bit lower. And you could also put one up there and change it to a different color, slightly different color, but you get the idea of those sort of lights. Okay, so that's point light. That's I use them quite a lot, those ones. Okay, so let's change the light now to spotlight. Okay, let's turn the other light off there, light 6. And just a minute, let's turn that light 6 off so you get a better idea what's going on here. Just get rid of that light completely, actually. Right, so here's the spotlight, and you can see it's exactly what it is. It's a spotlight. Let's zoom in on him because he's such an interesting character. Right, with a spotlight, you can change the cone angle, wide or small, and you can also feather it. So you could actually, you know, make that there and feather it out, and you can move it around the point of interest. Point of interest again, like this, like a flashlight type thing. Okay, so they're pretty good to pick things out with. Okay, so those are the 4 types of lights, and yeah, so that's about it really. So I'll just show you what I've actually done with this lights here. That's what I've done with this, and basically they were all done with these point lights. I used point light here, 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 and here. I didn't use any for the background. Maybe should have done, but yeah. So that's what I've done. That's how it goes. Now look, you can ask me any questions you want. I will try and answer them questions as best I can. I hope this helps people out in some way. But yeah, using lights does really make a big difference if you're using different types of layers and put them all together. They kind of look like they're together there instead of before. They kind of look like sort of separate. They looked all right, but you can see that they look very, very separate. But when you put the lights in, you can see that they look, well, it's a bit bright there, but what have we got a spotlight on there for? Oh, no need for the spot. Okay, you can kind of see that they look a little bit more matching in with the scene, right? So yeah, there's your lights. Any questions, just ask me and I'll try and answer them like I say. Okay, thanks a lot guys and girls, and see you later, alligator. Ciao.